if you walk around thinking, I don't really fully understand anything, it's a lot harder to become ingrained in a particular ideology. So there's a chapter in the book called Ideology, IDIOLOGY, which is, I take that from the word idiot, the way of the idiot, who is not placeable. You can't position them politically because when everybody else was whipping Jesus and laughing and throwing fruit at him as he was dragging his cross, he was just obsessed with the dirt under the Roman soldier's fingernails. He was looking at the wrong thing. So the idios is a Greek word that means one's own. And the idiot is the person who walks around and experiences the world as an utter mystery. Nobody wants to be in idiot mode all the time. But there, in a way, the idiot epitomizes the artistic sensibility, because the idiot is the person who's amazed by everything.
Yeah.
It's the kind of innocent, and I think that has political meaning.
Enormous.
Enormous, especially today when we're all so dug in,
Oh God. Yeah. Well, you're actually describing my politics right there.
Right.
I mean, my politics is the politics of the idiot. Well, my only problem with the use of the idiot there is that he's sort of a passive figure, the idiot, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's all about, and this is for you, for your work and for art, for me, it's all about curiosity. Right?
Yes.
It's all about this. I suffer from excessive curiosity. I mean, it actually is a problem in my life, right? I'm always curious about everything. And so I'm always seeking out, like, I'm trying to find out what's going on here, what's going on there. And that to me also seems to me a very big part of the artistic process as you portray it. Yes,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And like, in a way that has a cost. It means that you will often get sidetracked or distracted by things. But the point is that kind of, it's like the holy fools in Russia, right? Who were these monks who were wandering itinerant monks, and they were kind of half crazy. They would eschew a lot of the social mores and rules of their time, and or the Taoist sages. You're kind of in a crazy wisdom mode, and it has a cost, right, for you. And it's probably not the best way to pay off a mortgage, for example, this mode of existence, but it also has great affordances. And the reason why it's so you never hear about it today is because it goes right against the logic of our technological society, which is so geared towards means and ends thinking, that there's really no place for the itinerant fool. I had a book a friend gave me once. It's called, it's a famous, you might have heard this, it was an underground classic. It's called How to Disappear Completely and Never Be Found. No. It was like this, it's this underground book that it was a guide for, if you really want to change your life, just follow these steps and you'll be able to have a whole new identity somewhere else. You can just fuck off and move somewhere. Supposedly people used it, and that book is useless today. There's no way in this society of surveillance that you can simply disappear. You can't even simply drift anymore. You can't be a drifter. Right. You can, but the challenges are pretty considerable when you think about all of the kind of checkpoints that a person has to move through to get through a day, and how identity is caught up with numbers and and surveillance and all kinds of things. So the point is, less and less there is room for this idiot mode of living. And I think we need to restore that. I think that it's probably available to those who really want it, but at least we should be able to access it if we're artists, because that's where the art happens. It comes from there, that's where it starts, and maybe that's where it ends.
The idiot is an idiot because he does not care to understand what he is supposed to understand. Is that right? Like he
cares very much, but he cares about the wrong thing.
Wrong thing.
Right? He's looking at the wrong. He's not looking at the center of attention. He or she's always looking off to some other detail. A great example. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
A great example of it is a lot of the the protagonists in Arthurian romances of the Middle Ages, they were master idiots. These are knights, right? But they would leave the castle on a quest, and they were like, okay, I have to go and find the white stag. I'm trying to remember a specific story. They're all mixed together. It's been so long. They're hunting the white stag for King Arthur, for Guinevere, so that, and then they go off into the woods, and then they see a little dwarf riding a cart, and and then the dwarf starts whipping them, and then they get caught up with the dwarf, and then they go and they end up with this, there's like a bridge made of swords, and they have to cross the bridge. And suddenly they've totally forgotten about the original quest. They're caught up in this other quest. Then they end up in some mysterious castle hanging out with the people there. They, like, months go by, and suddenly they remember the quest, and then they go back, and then the white stag shows up. It's like you're constantly it's like Alice in Wonderland. They're just fumbling through a kind of mysterious world where everything is equally new. And so they get caught up in all these different things, but their curiosity is always driving them. So curiosity is great. And that's in the Arthurian romance. That's how Percival saves the kingdom. When he gets into the castle, the Fisher King is dying, his kingdom is dying. And there's this weird scene where they bring out the Holy Grail, and Percival goes, "What is that?" And then they tell him it's the Holy Grail, and then everything gets healed. Well, the thing is that no other knight had ever bothered to ask the question, what is that? Because they thought it would break decorum or whatever. Right. It's like asking the right questions. It's like pointing out the emperor has no clothes, that sort of thing, right? That type of holy curiosity that takes you into new, strange realms. It just feels so difficult to access that these days, because everything is prefab. Everything's been thought out already. It's hard to find it's not true, but you get that impression.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I want to stay on this thing about curiosity and the fool and the idiot. Because it's just, how important is it for politics? Oh my God. Well, can you try to I know this is hard because you and I are like normal, decent human beings, but try to put your mind inside the mind of a world leader, like a political leader. Yeah. And get this part. You can choose any ideology you want. It does not matter what it is. So long as you want to rule over other people or just manage populations, right? Be a political leader like that. Your worst enemy is the artist, as he has been described by you. Yeah. The perpetually, constantly curious person is the worst thing. I mean, you should liquidate them immediately. Don't even have concentration camps. Line them up and shoot them, because you must, as a political leader, your whole job, your whole mission is to regulate, manage, and control people. Otherwise, if you don't, you have no entity, you have no nation state, you have no community to govern. You have nothing to govern. Yeah. You need manipulable objects in your people. And if the artist is, by definition, as you and I are defining the artist, I mean, the artist is the opposite of that. He or she cannot be controlled, because his or her mind is always searching, seeking, looking around the corner. Yeah. And questioning. Always wondering and questioning. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What a huge, it's worse than a pain in the ass. It's an existential threat to your political project, no matter what your political project is.